Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Content Crowd. My name is Trevor Grums. The Content Crowd is a podcast where we explore what makes content resonate, from creative habits to point of view shifts to behind the scene breakdowns, so listeners and also me can learn from others so we can stop mimicking and start making something that matters. So let's start with my interview. This is a friend of mine, Erika Bryant. She's here to actually give us a huge paradigm shift, and everything has been framed around creating content, but I think Erika is going to tell us a way to make some serious career moves without having to rely on creating content. So I think this will be a really interesting episode for all you guys to learn. If you are scared of creating content or want to grow your business or grow your network without the pressure of creating content, I think we've got a solution for you. So Erika, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, you are so welcome. Thanks for having me.
So go ahead and tell us a little bit about you and who you are. I know you from StoryBrand. I'm not it no longer. I did wear my StoryBrand hat today just so we could feel on brand. But I met you through becoming a StoryBrand certified guide, and we've worked together on one or two projects in the past. But yeah, I'd love to know more about you for those listening that don't know about you.
Yeah, so again, I'm Erika Bryant. My company is Piece of Cake Marketing. I call myself a marketing strategist and business advisor, and I help companies under 10 million without a marketing team make really smart marketing decisions. So sometimes that looks like a one-on-one advisory session where I'm hearing whatever is happening in their business or whatever's happening and is a challenge for them, and then doing that through one-on-one. Or I also have groups. I have 8 mastermind groups that have been going for 6 years. And I do a pipeline sales accelerator. I have some content and programs coming around effective consulting. And then I also work with clients in a done for you marketing capacity. So I will still write content for clients that I really love and do marketing strategies and things like that in a done for you capacity. So I spend my time between those 3 buckets. Been a marketer for about 20 years and have had my own business for 13 years. It has been a really fun, wild ride. Like you, I'm no longer StoryBrand certified, but it was a beautiful part of my journey for about 6 years. A lot of fun. Right now, I have a community called The Network, which is a Slack community that's free to join. And I host all kinds of fun things like speed networking, Business Mindset Monday. And then I have other people who have really cool things to share. I prop them up and bring them into the network as well. It's kind of the lay of the land for me.
That's awesome. I'm a part of the network, and I've done a very bad job of being in it. But to be fair, I'm also preparing for paternity leave, so I'm a little sidetracked with other things right now. But I do agree. Like, I think that I've seen the things that you put in there, and I've wondered how you have the time to do everything, because it seems like there's a lot of movement and a lot of things going in there. And if I would take the time to engage a little bit more, it would be super valuable. That is awesome. The reason that I really reached out to you in looking for guests is because of you have this it's 30 coffees in 30 days, right?
Mm-hmm.
So break that down for us real quick.
Yeah, everything that I create for my business and the offers that I create are usually in response to market need. And so I talk to people, consult with people, listen to whatever's happening for them. And then I'm like, oh, here's the advice that I would give you. And over years and years and years of giving advice to people and having them implement it and doing these things myself, I recognized that there was a linear pattern that was happening. So when I wanted to start my business in 2013, I did what I knew how to do. So in 2005 to 2008, I worked for a consulting company, and I got to just be around consultants and understand how they interacted and what kinds of things they said and how they held themselves, and how they had this permission to be in a business conversation with literally anybody. And so I learned those tactics through them. And then when I went to start my business in 2013, I used those same tactics to start my business. So what I did was I just started reaching out to people and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. Who do you know that needs this? And that magic golden question of the who do you know that needs this got me to conversation after conversation that then landed really big projects. And I did that. I ran my business like that for, 7 or so years. And then I started doing coaching. And then when people were like, how do you get business? What do you do? How do you this? I'm like, you do it like this, because this is the way I did it. The 30 coffees thing is just, the number 30 is not magical. But when I tell people to do 30 coffees, they usually by the 16th or the 17th coffee, they have 2 projects that they've sold, if they're doing it right. There are some exceptions to the rule of, do you have an offer? Are you asking for the thing? Like, there could be some holes in it, but usually that's what happens. And so after telling people to do that for so long, I was just like, of course, like, why wouldn't I make this a thing? So the 30 coffees method is basically a relationship sales funnel. And it allows you to, it gives you a goal, right? It ties you to something where you're like, oh, what am I going to do to grow my business? I don't know. Maybe I'll go talk to people. And usually what happens is you do one or two of them, right? And it kind of falls off and you're like, you squirrel brain and whatever. But there's a method to this where you track people on your spreadsheet, and there's low hanging fruit of people that are already in your zone that really want to help you, is if they only knew what it is that you were doing. And so this is a way to get yourself in front of them in a no pressure, non-salesy way. You're literally just having coffee. You want to build relationships. You want to hear what's happening for them. Like, for instance, Trevor, I didn't know you were expecting. Congratulations. And if we'd had a coffee, if this was a coffee, I'd be like, tell me about that, right? Like, I'm really excited for you. Are you a first time dad? All those things. Second time dad. Okay, so there's a whole different dynamic happening in your household, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested in those things. That builds rapport. I now know about it. I now have something to check in with you about later. And we could have another coffee. And the byproduct of that relationship building is you're excited for me and what I'm doing. And when I show up with that passion, you can then refer me to whoever, right? So if I said, Trevor, do you know anybody who would be a good fit for the network? You'd be like, ooh, I want to send you these two people. One of those two people might buy from me. And that's the magic of the 30 coffees situation. I could keep going, but I won't.
Yeah. Well, first, because I've got a lot of questions now. Because one, I love that. And I've mentioned this on a few episodes of this, but this is what I'm doing here. Not every person I talk to is a target account, so to speak. But the goal is to talk to people because like I said, they learn. I get to learn from them. They learn from me. At the end of it, I'm always asking, like, what can I help you do? I appreciate you for your time. And that just lets people know what I'm doing and what I'm working on. And anybody else who wants to launch, I don't launch podcasts for people, but maybe it's, do you know anybody else who wants to launch a podcast? Maybe you've wanted to launch one. And it's like, yeah, okay. I can either figure out an offer real quick by doing what I did and building that process for the first time if I haven't already, or if that is my offer, that's how I'm getting people in. So I think the biggest question for me, and you probably get this a lot, is like, okay, that sounds super simple, makes sense, but who do I actually talk to? Am I talking to friends? Am I, if I don't have a huge LinkedIn network, am I asking my uncle and about his friends? Where do you start with that?
Yeah, typically if you have your own business, then you have some kind of contact. Like, if somebody has paid you money for your services, you have some kind of contacts, right? So when people come to me and they say, Erika, my business is failing, what do I do? My first reply is, go back to all the people who said no to you and go ask them how that project is going. You're going to find so much gold there, because what's happened is, right, they probably either didn't make a decision, or it could not be going well, or they might have another project for you, or maybe it's going really well and you're just building a relationship, and maybe 5 years down the road, there's going to be a project there, right?
Yeah.
There's so many more opportunities that you can get from that person that says no. And I think it's hilarious that we try to build all these relationships with people, and then we get to the proposal, and then they say no, and then we're like, you're done to me. And you never talk to them again. And what a shame, right? Because, we connect with humans, and that's beautiful, right? So that's the first place I tell people to go. And there's 4 buckets of low-hanging fruit. The lowest hanging fruit are people who have already bought from you, right? Yeah. If you're not doing some kind of account review in whatever industry you're in, you're missing out on a lot of money. There's probably ways that you can help them additionally, right? Or maybe there's a new product that you can create. Remember, I said I create things based on market need. That's a huge place that I can go get things. The second place is the people who said no, and ask them, ask them how they're doing. The third place is the people that are in your mailbox that you have forgotten about. And I am guilty of this too. There are people who've gotten on my calendar. We've had a lovely conversation. They never made it to my pipeline because I got busy, and then they fell through the cracks. So you can recover that. I'll tell you a true story. Earlier this year, probably 2 months ago, I was looking in my inbox for another person, and I think their name was I'll make something up, like Rob or something. Yeah. And so I searched in my inbox, Rob, and I found that somebody had introduced me to this person named Rob, and I missed the email. Shame on me. That person introduced me, and I missed the email of the connection. So this email had happened in January. It's now June or May. So I sent a note to Rob and I said, look, I'm so sorry. I missed your email. I was searching my inbox. I found whatever. I would love to chat with you if you're still open to it. Totally understand if I've missed the boat, but I would love to chat or whatever. We got on a call, had a lovely conversation. He's joined the network. He's now networking in there, and that's a total win, right?
Yeah, huge win. Yeah.
He would have never joined the network, right? Had that not happened. And so I guarantee you there's some people that you have missed, not because of whatever, just things happen. And then lastly, scroll through LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Yeah.
Who are you connected to? I bet you somebody has moved. If you've got more than 200 contacts, you don't know where everybody is, right? So see who's moved, say, hey, congrats on your new position, or I'd love to catch up with you and hear how things are going. Really, you can find at least 30 people in those 4 buckets.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I love that first off, you mentioned just because somebody said no at some point you don't immediately write them off. My guest last week, we talked about this in depth of how important it is to keep those relationships. Just because somebody says no right now doesn't mean that maybe your offer is just off. Maybe it really is a timing thing. Stay in contact with them, follow them on LinkedIn or whatever, what's going on, or just ask them, is it okay if I reach out to you in 3 months? Even if they just say yes, because they don't want to tell you no, at least in 3 months, you have an opportunity to reach back out to this person. And I actually did this there was a few agencies where I live who every now and then I see that they're hiring for a copywriter and it pops up on like my LinkedIn feed. And so I send them, I'm like, hey guys, I just noticed that you guys are quite frequently looking to hire full time. And that may be the ultimate goal, but I can fill in between those. And that's just like an easy way to reach out. And I've had people have told me no right off the bat. And it's just like, cool, can I reach out to you in 3 months and see if things have changed? And they're like, sure, we'd love to work on a project with you in the future. And even if they actually mean no, in 3 months, they might actually be in need of help. But things like that you can look for. And like you said, scroll through your LinkedIn. That's how I've got a lot of freelance projects before, is just reaching back out and being like, hey, I now offer this. I have more capacity. Just wondering, is there anything you guys need to get pushed across the line before the end of the quarter? And usually it's yes. They say, we didn't know that you had availability. Mm-hmm. So that's always oh yeah. And I've done the clean out my inbox thing and been like, I forgot about this person a long time ago, and reached back out to them. And sometimes it turns into something, and sometimes it just turns into that conversation, which is the whole basis of what you're doing, is like just having that conversation, so that, because once you have a network of 30 people that you know a lot about, I would guarantee that most of us can't like name 30 people right off the bat that we know something outside of maybe their job title about. And I think that's super valuable to know one more thing about somebody versus like just knowing where they work and what their job title is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's brilliant.
So before we were hopped on the call, we were having a little bit of technical issues, but we were talking about this, and I mentioned like using those conversations to create content, and you were like, actually, no, we're not going to create any content from this. And so I want to know about that, because I understand that this is a content-led conversation, and I'm always trying to push that content is the fuel for your business, but that's my point of view. So I'd love to know, like, how do you help people that don't want to create content, don't have the time, maybe just don't have the strength of creating content? They're using this to avoid creating content. So not avoid, but they're using this as a different vehicle. So I want to talk a little bit about that too, because I think you had a very strong point that this was not a content driven thing. So we'd love to hear how that works into the overall results in the 30 coffees in 30 days.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have a strategy that I help people understand for this relationship building sales funnel. It's know what you want, know what you offer, show up, give, and ask. Okay. When you know what it is that you want, excuse me, you can create offers that align with your perfect self, the perfect week, the way in which you want to show up for your business. You're not recreating some other construct of the 40-hour work week, right? Mm-hmm. Know what you want, know what you offer. Show up and give, show up and give, show up and give, earn the right to ask. Okay. And giving doesn't mean I'm going to find something to throw at you so that you have to occupy your time, because everybody has content, right? Mm-hmm. Showing up and giving could mean holding space for somebody, or asking them how things are going, or a specific resource that might be helpful. So one of my cool things that I do that I'm really good at is, if you give me a situation, I can probably tell you what book you could go read further in, and probably down to which chapter. Hey, that's in chapter 3 of this book. You should go read that. Mm. And so that's super valuable for people, or connecting somebody to them is super valuable, right? So when you show up and give in that way, you earn the right to ask. And what I mean by that is, if I've shown up and given and created a relationship with you where I'm caring about what's happening in your life, and I'm caring about what's happening in your business, and I'm asking you really interesting questions, and we're both gushing about what's happening in business, The minute that I say, hey, Trevor, who do you know that needs to join this network? And can you send them the link? That's my ask. You're like, of course I would send the link. Why wouldn't I? I feel like we created some rapport. Where you get in hot water is when you show up and ask. That feels slimy. I don't know you. Why would I recommend you? There's no rapport here, right? So there's that. I'll put that in one bucket of the answer to your question. Okay. The second bucket is this. I actually was in New York in May attending a book launch party for a very well-known author and doing a mastermind with her and 40 other people who do about $1 million ish in their business. And as I was connecting with people, they were like, oh, let's connect on Instagram, right? And so they pull up my Instagram and like literally at least 5 people were like, your Instagram's private. How does that work? And I was like, yeah, I don't use Instagram for business. They're like, where do you show up online? And I was like, I don't. And they're like, what? How do you do this? And the answer is really solid relationships and through this private Slack channel, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't show, in fact, in the network, I don't show up and create content whatsoever. I respond, right? I create sales enablement materials like speed networking or like a business mindset Monday or some of these other sessions that I've done, like the 30 coffees challenge, right? I create situations that are, oh, this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm talking, right? And they're live things. I'm showing up in coaching and I'm not publishing content anywhere. To me, it doesn't feel good, right? Yeah. So I feel like I'm not polished. Maybe what I have to say, kind of like sometimes I'm like, is it really, if nobody clicks on this, am I going to feel bad about that? Like I have a lot of things about that. So I'm like, it doesn't feel good. And I tell my clients when I'm doing strategy with them, I'm like, all right, what way do you like showing up? And if they're like, I really love showing up on LinkedIn, guess what? The strategy that's going to work for them is a LinkedIn strategy because they love showing up there. I love showing up on Slack and responding to people. I love showing up live for people. And that is, you could consider that content, if you will.
Yeah.
Right. But that's how I love showing up. And why is that a successful strategy for me? It's because I will do it. Mm-hmm. So if you like showing up on YouTube, awesome. If you like showing up on LinkedIn, awesome. If it's blogs, awesome. Wherever you love showing up and that energy you can put into it, that is what will be successful for you.
That is a really good piece of advice because I think a lot of us in like our space, it's if you're going to start creating brand awareness or something, like you've got to have somewhere that you're putting stuff out there. And you've already demonstrated like that's not necessarily true. And I do think that it's important to think about where do you feel comfortable showing up in terms of social media? Maybe they don't feel comfortable anywhere. Because I think a lot of times I've asked this question too, is these are the places that your brand would do the best at. What would you feel most comfortable doing? And I'm giving them the option of like, it has to be a social media platform where you're showing up versus is there another, even now I was thinking, oh, they could do this, but this is also kind of, this is also showing up. And if you're not comfortable talking to somebody on camera and all that kind of stuff, that's also another place where it may not necessarily work. Like you have to actually enjoy doing it or at least have some talent in that area. You can definitely create the ability to do it, but if you're not interested or not comfortable, then that's not going to happen. So you would just recommend, like, for people who are not very comfortable being on social media, maybe they don't want to create content, maybe they just want to do what they're good at doing. So maybe that's identifying the problems, which I'm assuming meeting with 30 people is identifying new problems. You're hearing people talk and you're understanding new problems and new places that you can fill in. So they can do this whole thing and create a network and create a community by just talking with people face to face in person. They just have to be able to find those people. And you've given a lot of examples of how to find them. What would you say to somebody who is brand new? They haven't sold anything to anybody before. They probably, and let's say they also don't have a LinkedIn. Maybe they don't, maybe they need to go creating one to connect with people like a first point of the option, or what is the first thing that you'd suggest they do if they don't have anything? They're just starting out.
Yeah. So the first thing that comes to mind is leading with curiosity. Okay. So if I'm going to tap into my curiosity, what might be my first step? I'm probably going to get a couple of ideas that come to me. Give me an example of the type of people that watch this. What type of businesses do they have? What does that person just starting out? What do they want to do? Is it marketing services? Is it consulting? Yeah. What type of service is it?
I'll just say marketing. They want to, let's just say like maybe they've worked like at an agency in the past and they want to do it themselves.
Okay. So let's say somebody has done agency work and they build websites. Okay. We'll use that example. If I was in that position, I would go talk to people to get advice. Okay. I'm going to tell you how I did this when I moved from Atlanta to Dallas in 2009. Okay. So I was an employee. I didn't start my company until 2012. So as an employee, I moved from Atlanta to Dallas without literally knowing a soul. I reached out to the person that was at the consulting company in the Dallas office, and I said, hey, I'm looking for a job, and I have this list of jobs that are available, and here's my spreadsheet. Who do I need to go talk to? Notice, same format, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who do I talk to? Who do you know? And he said, you know what? You need to go talk to Carolyn. Carolyn knows probably all the people on this list. I'm like, beautiful. So then he introduces me to Carolyn, and Carolyn says, I go and meet her at Starbucks, and I'm like, hey, it's so nice to meet you. How do you know so-and-so? And all these different things. We're just chit-chatting or whatever, having coffee. And I said, okay, I'm looking for a job, and this is my list of jobs that are available. Who do you know at each of these companies? And she looked and she said, I know people at all those different companies, and I actually don't want to send you to any of them because I want to hire you for myself, because this is brilliant, and I like the way your brain works. Okay?
Yeah.
So what did that get me? My curiosity got me into a position, and it was part-time, and it was just support or whatever in this way. And I cobbled a few things together before it was a beautiful time in my career. And you can just go get curious. And so let's say you're trying to build websites, go talk to somebody who is really well connected, or who probably is 6 steps above you. So if you're 30 years old, talk to somebody who's 45 or plus. Right? Because chances are they have a really deep network, or you can tell who the super connectors are, right?
Yeah.
Go ask to meet with them and ask them for feedback. And so what that does is it gets you in a position where you can tell them everything that you're doing. They can give you valuable feedback on market fit, or are you charging too much? Are you charging not enough? What are you doing? They can poke holes in what you're doing. And you can ask the question, who do you know that needs this at the end of that, right? Yeah. And then they will say, and they will give you an honest answer and say, based on what you've said, I think you need to put more work into product development. And that's insanely valuable, right? Before you fall on your face in front of a client, a potential client. Or they might say, you know what, I think you have something really valuable here, and I think you need to go to talk to these 2 people I want to introduce you. And you can do that for your 30 coffees, where you're just asking for feedback and getting curious. Tell me what when you read this, what does it say to you? A lot of people will do their websites, and they'll have all this content on their websites, and nobody knows what they're talking about, right? Nobody literally, what are you talking about on this page? What are you even selling? And you don't know that because you put your heart and soul in it, and you're inside the pickle jar. You cannot read the label. And so it's very valuable to get feedback from people. Another thing you can do is you can just start showing up in places. I call this a gatekeeper strategy. The gatekeeper strategy is where you position yourself with a gatekeeper, somebody who holds your specific audience. So let's say you wanted to do websites for plumbers, or that's a bad idea, something easier. Websites for accountants, okay? If your whole thing is, I'm going to do websites for accountants, which BT dub, I have a hot take. You don't have to have a niche. I don't have a niche. My niche is businesses under 10 million without a marketing team. So you show up okay, where do accountants gather? Well, they have accounting associations. They may gather at the Chamber of Commerce, right? They may have a local networking meetup group, right? Where do accountants gather? You go talk to the head of that group and ask them how would be best for you to access that group. Is it, hey, can I do a session for your group about their website and what kinds of things they need to have on it? Can I come and show up and be part of the group? Is that whatever's within their confines? Yeah. You can show up and give in that way. So if you have literally nobody, if you're I'm literally, and which I disagree, I don't think anybody has literally nobody, but if you have literally nobody, I would go to your gatekeepers, and then I would also go to, mentors that are significantly older or more advanced in whatever it is that you're doing.
The gatekeeper part is really interesting. Is Facebook groups also in the realm of that? Or I don't know if Nextdoor, I know there are groups on Nextdoor kind of things, but there's probably, maybe that's not as popular, but have you seen success with that, or worked in trying to get involved in a Facebook group? I guess when you said groups, I'm thinking, how do we find out about in a group of accountants? Is it a Facebook group, or is it do you just reach out to the Chamber of Commerce and ask if there's I like to get into the
tactical.
Tactical part of it, because I'm thinking, where do I go first? Is it on Facebook, or is it just Chamber of Commerce?
Okay, so that was your curiosity kicking in, right? So, I'm curious where to go. Your inclination was to go to Facebook and the Chamber of Commerce. Awesome. Maybe that's where you need to go.
Hmm.
My inclination would be to Google it, associations for accountants,
Oh,
and see
okay.
what comes up. And I can poke around and I can see, oh, this place already has sessions. That really easily fit right in there. Oh, this group works this way, or that group works this way, or maybe meetup.com is a good idea, right?
Hmm.
So the best place for you is to follow your energy and your curiosity, because that is probably the best fit for you,
Gotcha.
right? If you start poking around and start following the thread, right? Yeah, Facebook groups are going to be great. They also are a challenge sometimes because they're no pitch zones.
Hmm.
So you're at the mercy of waiting for somebody else to pop up the question that you have, or a question that you have the answer to, and then being the one that answers it, which that's a longer term play. That's not immediate. You can do that as part of the strategy and part of the things that you're doing, as the activities that you're doing. But it's, like you're waiting at that point, and you don't want to wait. You want to do some things where you're waiting and planting seeds, and then you want to do some things where you're actively outreaching. Hey, how can I fit in on this? Is there a seminar? Is there an entrepreneurial networking group near me?
Yeah.
Is there some kind of conference that's going on near me? What can I tap into virtually, in person, whatever that might look like?
Yeah, I'm glad you said the entrepreneur like network, because I was originally going to join like the Chamber of Commerce and try to get into all that. And then, so for anybody listening that doesn't, I can't remember what, like a yearly $300 or something, maybe it's more than that. But for anybody who doesn't want to pay that up front, or is it worth like buying into that? I was going through the Chamber of Commerce. I learned about our local like entrepreneur center, and I've had a lot of success doing quarterly like webinars for their small business network. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, because I forgot about that. That's a good place to also, you don't have to be like super involved. You can just ask questions and call somebody on the phone at the Chamber of Commerce. And sometimes they'll be like, oh, you might be looking for this. You might be looking for this area. Have you read the book Do Over by John Acuff?
I have not, but I have several of his books up here.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, because I mean, you're saying a lot of stuff from his book, and not saying
Oh,
like it's very similar, specifically like coming up with your network, because he has an exercise where he like splits it into 4 different groups, but he's just sit down and write out every person that you can think of off the top of your head,
yeah.
and then write out every person that owns a business, and then write out every person that does. So you have a very similar, I know you said you're big into books, so maybe that's one you could add to your repertoire of ideas, because I think that's a super good, because he does talk about in the beginning, like quitting his job without having a LinkedIn network. I remember him mentioning that and being like, okay, all right. So very cool.
And also, I want to just say, like, in the network, when we do speed networking, we had speed networking on Monday. There's almost 500 people in the network, and there were 150 people registered for speed networking on Monday.
Okay.
So that's also a really good place to get plugged in. There's all these like micro communities that are happening that you can get plugged into. You just have to go find them.
Yeah. What's the criteria to be in your network? Is it just asking to join?
So it's pizzacakemarketing.com/the network. And we ask about salary, like how much money are you making? What do you plan to get from this community? Are you going to show up and give? We have no slimy sales. Everybody is like, all rising tides raise all ships. Everybody is like community over competition and collaboration over competition. So it's that essence that's required. But you can, whatever, you don't have to be in for a long time to be able to join. You can just join in and look at what's going on there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's awesome. It's very inspiring, because part of what I want to do is, I don't know if I want to create something like you've created, but I definitely want to have some kind of community that helps build people up and helps people find new ways to do things. And so it's why I started this. I'm hoping that people that are on here will see other people, or people watching will see the people on here. So I think that's really awesome. And that's definitely a very inspiring thing to see you doing that. And like I said, I see it like pop up on my Slack all the time. There's always things going on. It's very cool. So I'm super proud of you for doing that. I think that's awesome. It's really cool.
Thanks. It's really effective. I actually had somebody tell me in a call right before this. She was like, I haven't been to the speed networking yet. She's been around for about a year or two. And she said, I went on Monday and I have 3 connections that I want to have deeper conversations with that I am sure will turn into work, which
That's
that's
great.
the whole point, right?
Yeah.
All B2B services. It's people that can leverage each other. Oh, I do websites. I do copywriting. I'm legal. I do accounting. It's all across the whole business, B2B services that can leverage each other's clients and get to know each other and bring people in.
That's awesome. So would you call yourself like, I feel like you're like a master networker. I feel like that should be like your new title should be some sort of networking like guru of some kind. The guru is not a good word, but like it seems like that's been your skill. Have you always had that ability? Is it something that you've just picked up from other people from reading books, or is you've always just like a keen ability to do this?
So people have asked, the word that they use is a super connector.
Yes.
So
Right.
people have asked me this question, and I think it's a really valid, because a lot of people, the underlying thing is like, well, how do I become a super, how do I
Yeah.
get in on that? And here's what I tell people. One, anchor yourself in somebody's mind in 2 or 3 words, right? So notice I said marketing strategist and business advisor, that's 5 words. But you can pick either one of those and anchor me into your brain. When people do that to me, like Trevor, if you were to say your 2 words or 3 words to me, then I would then do that, and I've got you logged in. And the minute that I hear that thing, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, who do I know? Who do I know? And I'm going through my mental Rolodex. And then you get a random email from me when I'm like, hey, I was talking to so and they really need a whatever.
Yeah.
And so that is how I catalog people in my brain. There are a lot of people who are like, I can't do that in my brain. That must be a gift. I'm like, great, get a spreadsheet out. Do it on your phone. Whenever I go to networking events, I open up a notes on my app, and I just have, as I'm in conversations, I'm listening. How can I help this person? Do they need me to answer a question for them? Do they need me to ask a question of them? Do they need a new connection? I'm listening for those things. And in the minute that they say something, I'm like, oh, you need to talk to Trevor because of such and such and such. I'm like, let me pull, and I say this to them. I'm like, hey, I want to put this on my notes app so I don't forget. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I put it on my notes app. I'm like, introduce so-and-so to Trevor. And then when I get home from whatever event that might be, I'm going to then fulfill that promise and say, hey, Trevor, I was at this event, context for the outreach, context for the relationship, and then making the ask. I was at this event. I saw so-and-so. I think there's some synergies here. You two need to talk. Let me know if you need any further introduction. And by doing that and showing up and giving in that way, that costs me nothing. And I'm helping people win, and people make real money from those connections. Like, I've probably been responsible, I don't even know for how many millions of dollars worth of projects, right?
Yeah.
Because I have been like, hey, you two need to meet. Now, what does that do for me? What is in it for me? I know this is not, the spirit of generosity and giving and things like that is not usually what's in it for me. But when I point this out, people are like, oh, I get it. Mm-hmm. When people think of, if I were to do that to you, you would feel like the warm hug of Erika Bryant. You would remember me in a positive light, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, like the next time Erika asks me to do something, I'm on it. And so when I do show up with my ask and I'm like, hey, who do you know that can join this network? Then you're like, I got 12 people because I love the energy here. I love the spirit of general. I love how this feels. To give you some context, last year, this time we had 150 people in the network. Today we have 480.
Wow, that's awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's just through showing up and giving and showing up and giving in a way, and my business is thriving as a result. So I have an email in my inbox that I got earlier this morning that I haven't responded to yet, and they were like, hey, I know somebody that'd be great for your masterminds. How do I connect them to you? And that's somebody I've been showing up and giving to. And now they want to send some, they found some, they're my sales team now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then and so this reciprocity that happens, and it's not one-to-one, right?
Yeah.
I had somebody ask me that the other day. They're like, how do I get from people, but without having anything to give to them? I'm like, this is not a tit for tat one-to-one.
Yeah.
If anything, like my bucket of giving is like real deep, right?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then what I get back is probably here. And I'm okay with that, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be a one-to-one. I don't have to be like, all right, you know what? I gave Trevor 3 leads and he needs to come back with the leads.
Yeah.
That energy is not what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what happened here. Kind of like I asked you to be on my podcast. And I think at some point you were like inviting me to your network because you were already talking about that and you showed me how it works in real time. And I would say that if I took the time and really became active in the network like I should be, that I would probably get a lot more out of that than you're getting out of this, unfortunately. But that's just kind of, hope down the line, though, it might turn into something. I'm definitely going to know that, like, man, Erika's who I need to go to, like, if I need to ask for somebody about something and connect with somebody around something. And there's always going to be, I think when you do those kind of things and you're freely handing things off to people or freely giving things to people, that those people are going to encounter things that they can't do. There's definitely going to be, I'm going to have projects or have a client and they're going to need this and this. And it's not something that I can offer or don't want to offer, but I can ask you, and maybe you can't offer it either. Maybe you send it to somebody else, but it just kind of works around where we can all, there's plenty to go around. And if we're, if we're freely focusing on what we can do and like where our energy leads us, like you mentioned, and we freely give to each other, then we're kind of all doing pretty well. I think. I don't think there's ever been a bad case of, unless somebody just really did you dirty, but handing something off to somebody and it'll come back around in some other way, either through them or through one of their connections. If you're blessed enough to be friends with a super connector, then you can flow through all that. So
yeah, and I also want to say, like, whenever I show up and I give a free session, because I offer a free session to whoever comes, right? So you get a free strategy session. I'll answer any questions. I show up in all of myself when I do those. So you want to get on my calendar, you go to my calendar link, you find a time, we have a 1-hour session. I will answer any question about your offers, about your messaging, about how to go to market, about validating your idea, about all the things that I do that are in my zone of genius. And now you know what it's like to do business with me before you do business with me, which is a great sales tool. And it anchors in your mind this is what people need to talk to Erika about. So when then you leave that session with me, you then go about your day and you meet somebody, your thought is, you need to go talk to Erika. And guess what? That's my client. So you may not be my client, but you are a sales tool for me. And nothing comes of this. I believe that everything will come of this, right? And even if the only thing that I get from this is I got to say, like, on Thursday, I had something on my calendar, and energetically, I felt really awesome showing up to this. And it positioned me as the advisor that I want to be. And it was a drop in that bucket, success.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Cause that's a good way to look at it too. It's easy to see, this is my 10th episode and I'm not really going.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. This is a monkey moment. Yay.
Oh, that's awesome.
Way to go.
Thank you. Yeah, this is my 10th episode. And so like, I'm not really, didn't go into this hoping that I would just have leads flowing in. It was just to network with people. But I think if you're going into, even if you are going into this in a way to create business, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's easy to get burnt out on it or feel like, dang, by episode 10, I don't even have one new prospect. There's no opportunity there. Just setting the mindset that I'm coming with, like, I enjoy doing it. And it's the energy of showing up and being in that mindset, I think is also really important. And if you can look at that as a win, that's how I look at these. I'm actually excited for each one of these episodes every single week. I'm honestly just thrilled that I have people lined up. I'm booked. I'm like booking people out like a month or two in advance because that's a huge win for me. I went into this thinking like, I'm not going to have anybody to be on here. And so far I've only had one person that said no to me. So I think that's pretty considering that's 1 out of 20 people or whatever. So, and I also think like the thing that really stuck with me, ironic because you're talking about anchoring in somebody's mind, that part really stuck with me because sometimes we get hung up on trying to explain what we do and trying to differentiate ourselves. And if I say I'm just a content strategist, like that doesn't sound good because everybody says that, but at least that's what you know me as, versus if I say, I don't know, I write the words that make money. That's cool. But also if you told somebody that, they'd be like, what does that mean? What do they do? I don't understand. They make billboards. What does that mean? So I think it's important to sometimes roll back how we describe ourselves or how we describe what we do and make it so simple that it can just stick in somebody's mind and they remember, oh yes, Trevor said he was a content strategist. So I remember him saying that. He didn't say some weird like 7-word pitch about something that, so I think that's super great advice. Actually, all this has been super great advice. I appreciate you for coming in here and giving all this away because it was a ton of valuable information and I'll create a lot of content with it. So thank you for giving me that.
Yeah. Yeah. And let me just tell you, you can actually use your, I write the words that whatever. There's you want the 3-step formula for this?
Yeah.
Okay. So as you're talking to somebody, they're going to say, well, what do you do? Or what are you up to? Or whatever. One, in a coffee situation, you just want to get excited about whatever you're doing, right? So I want to be like, Trevor, I created this network and it's really cool and I'm doing all these things. And you're like, bravo, Erika, well done, yada, yada, right? Now, when I get excited about it, or if I'm like, hey, I'm launching this new thing. So we're literally in the midst of the 30 Coffees Challenge right now. There's about 130 something people that are part of this challenge in the network. that are all doing it, right? So I could sit here and I could gush about the 30 coffees challenge, and guess what? Now you know the thing that I'm doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so that is aside. This is what I'm about to tell you. This 3-step formula is not what's inside your coffee. I think what's inside your coffee is genuine connection and getting excited about what you're doing, right? Aside from that, when people are like, what do you do? The top line is the anchor words. I'm a marketing strategist and business advisor. The second level down is then the clarifying words. So when you asked me and you were like, what do you do? I said, I'm a marketing strategist and business advisor. I help businesses under 10 million without a marketing team make smart marketing decisions. Okay, that's my byline. That's the clarification that you need to be like, oh, I kind of get it. So you want to get a little more tangible. And then the third step is to anchor into an example. Okay, so let's say I wanted to go into the business advisory piece of what I'm doing. I'd say I'm a marketing strategist and business advisor. I help businesses under 10 million without a marketing team. In fact, I helped a company last week figure out what their offers were so that they could get really clear when they got into their strategy calls or their sales calls, they could articulate what it is that they had to say with clarity. And I can have the top 2 of those I can have set. I can do a different one. My other one is I help solopreneurs and entrepreneurs make smart marketing decisions. If I'm going into a lot of my masterminds and things like that, if that's what I want to talk about, I'm reading the room. But that last bucket is always an example that is recent and relevant. So I can be like, for instance, I've made a couple of comments about other conversations that I've had that gave you color of, oh, she has marketing masterminds. Oh, she has advisory services. Oh, she does, done for you stuff. Through the examples that I'm using, I communicate that, but I don't have to say, do you know that I have these one-on-one advisory services? I just have to say, yeah, in a coaching call last week, I helped somebody do X, Y, Z, ABC. Mm-hmm. And now it makes it really tangible and anchored. When we have B2B services, a lot of us stay to the ethereal thing. So if I was very ethereal with this and I didn't have a very concrete example, I would say, Trevor, I do marketing. Don't you want to buy the marketing for me? You'd be like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things you could do in marketing. Like, are you talking about a website? And you're leaving it up to them to have whatever they believe marketing is, which is probably not the answer, right?
Yeah.
Like, they're going to get it wrong. Like, they're probably not going to get it, right? But the more you clarify, the more they know, oh, it's advisory service. Oh, she does the one-on-one sessions. Oh, I can get to offers and messaging clarity through talking to her. Or, oh, I can help, oh, she's got Business Mindset Monday. Like, she must do some mindset coaching. And then they will ask questions of you like, oh, what does that look like? And then I'll say, and they're like, Business Mindset Monday, what's that? I'm like, oh, it's a session that I pop up once a month for the community. You can come to it. It's free to join. And I talk about concepts like money mindset and burnout and boundaries with clients and terrible clients and what to do and how to re-encourage yourself throughout the week, how to create a perfect week and things like that. And now you're like, oh, I'm really interested. So that's what I'm talking about earlier, like finding the thread of curiosity, following that curiosity, and then that conversation becomes really rich.
Wow. That was incredible. Thank you so much for taking the time to go through that, because it's those little nuances that make the impact of what we say like super impactful and help us actually anchor what we do in somebody's mind. So thank you so much, Erika. This has been an incredible conversation. And I think that we need to be on like 10 more episodes because you have so much to share. But I want to say thank you so much for being here. I had a great time with talking with you today. And thank you all for joining. And we'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks.
All right, bye.